if I tell my dog, dig, dig, which way do I want my dog to turn on the jump?
Left.
And do I want the dog to take the front side or the back side first?
Front side.
Okay, so dig, dig is if the dog is here, dig, dig is to the left, okay? If I say wrap, wrap, which direction do I want the dog to turn? So dog is here, and I want the dog to turn to the right. Does it matter where I am?
No.
No. So that's a very good answer. So your next exercise that I want you to go out and work on is having your dog turn to the right or turn to the left tight. This would be considered a wrap, okay? I'm going to talk about, I'm going to say turn versus wrap, okay? So a wrap cue means I want the dog, sorry you guys that are videoing, I want the dog to turn tight.
That's a dig.
Yes, it's not the cue, I'm describing the action.
Okay.
A wrap is I happen to use that word for the right turn, but I want to talk about this is when you hear any of our trainers talk about wraps, they're not just talking about a right turn. They're talking about the dog taking it in a circle. So your push, or for you it's your get back, would be considered a wrap cue to the backside. A seek would be considered a wrap cue to the backside. But it's confusing because I use that word because it was easy for me. But you guys could use whatever you want. A lot of people use dig and check, whatever you want. So the idea is that wherever I happen to be, the dog is going to take that side. So if my dog is on this side and I ask for a dig, this is how we trained them, right? So this is pretty easy. What's hard is when my dog is in this side and I ask for a dig, because my dog is going to read my body and want to turn to the right.
Yes.
Because that's what we do. So what we do with this to get that training going, Pi, come here. If I want my dog to turn to the left, the first thing that I'm going to do is, excuse me, this side, is down. The first thing I'm going to do is ask for it that makes sense. Dig, 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 get it, okay? Then I'm going to put him at a slice, release, I'm going to put the toy back where it was. Now I'm going to line him up on the off side. Sit. This would be a normal dog. If I'm asking for a tight wrap cue, they're going to want to go to the right. So I've got him sort of at a slice so that it makes more sense. And I put a flat hand. This is not a hand that comes forward. This hand saying hup looks a lot like this hand saying dig, dig. So flat hand, dig, 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 get it. You see how he started to turn to the right? Because he felt my body was cueing to the right, but then he remembered where his toy was. That's how you get it. You sneak it in there. Then you put the toy back and you move them a little bit this way. Come here. No, leave it. Close. You see how all of a sudden he can read my body language and over my verbal. I want my verbal to be stronger than my body. Sit. Sit. Good. Good. Dig, dig, dig. Good boy. So did you see what I did there? I could have also asked for a down, a stand, a sit again with my hand like that. Because what he starts to do when I'm training him is he looks at my hand. I know what you want me to do. And he's off doing it to the races before I can get the verbal out. And really what I want to do is be able to, I'm getting tired. Come here. Sit. Ready. Down.
So cute.
Down. Very good. Dig, dig, dig. Get it. So I added a cue in there because I know he's not listening to me. In his head, he's going, "Get the toy!" Right? And but I want him to think more, think more, think more. Sparkles, I don't have to really play these games with because she's thinking a lot anyway. It's part of her charm and also part of her
Curse.
painful
Curse and charm.
Curse and charm. So that's the dig. And the wrap would be, of course, here. I would always wrap first on this side. Then I would bring the dog on this side. And I almost am rear crossing the dog at this point. Wrap, wrap, wrap. Does that make sense? And then I start to work myself out. Okay, so you guys are all going to go to a different jump. Yes?
You could also ask him for a dig from that,
Yes.
right? That okay.
My position doesn't matter on
Yes.
these verbals.
Yeah.
What matters is that I'm cueing the side I want him to turn on.
That's
so
this
if I'm
hand,
asking
okay.
him to turn away, I'm giving a flat hand. I do not move it forward.
Mhm.
Sometimes you might see me do it forward, but I really want you guys to hold it flat on your side. But if I was sending him to the same thing with this hand, I would just say dig, dig, or wrap, wrap, or whatever,
Yeah.
whichever way I was doing it, right? So what my hand is doing depends on which side the dog is on,
Okay.
okay? Because if we want the dogs to turn away, it's much harder for the dogs to do that. So we want to make sure, hey, I'm telling you to pay attention. Whereas a dog turning with us is easy peasy, most times.
So that's what that flat hand is actually telling
That
you?
flat hand is saying, pay attention to me, come to me. That's why on the in, I'll often have the dog come touch, and then I'll do the in. Because this hand is saying, come to the side I'm on. Does that make sense? And when you do the in, do not do this. Just in, and go down the line. Because very rarely are you going to be doing in and coming. And this looks a lot like cup rather than take the slice. We did some this weekend we had a bunch of sequences where this slice was off the handler line. So it was like that. The dog was coming and they had to slice that way. And I'm telling you, I couldn't believe more than 90% of the dogs were just driving right with the handler rather than taking the slice. Sparkles took the slice, but she also chased the pit bull. So there's balance in everything. But so what I think was happening is people were putting their arm forward and the dog just missed the jump totally because they were running away, right? So saying in wasn't enough. They really needed to open up that shoulder and say, I want you to take that jump. Okay, so everybody ready to go grab a jump? Go to a different jump than you were at.